Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 26 of Chaos Under Heaven, a show where we talk about news, politics, economics, current events, history, theory, philosophy, and more from a far left perspective. I am your host, Phil Traveler, and today I was a little concerned that I wouldn't be able to get started when I wanted to get started, so I decided to put the stream on the back burner about an hour initially, but as it turns out, things ended up working out with respect to the way I wanted to have my day planned. So here we are talking about a variety of things today. I have some good stuff for you guys, some very, very good stuff. And with that being said, let us go ahead and get started. So I want to start off by saying shout out to my Patreons. Your gratuity is greatly appreciated. I really do appreciate what you guys give me, and you definitely help boost morale and help keep the channel going. So a couple things. Couple things. So first and foremost, there are counter-protests in Cuba. And that is the first agenda on the list. So let me go ahead and dig up my bread and butter. How's it going, guys? How is it going? Let's go ahead and go to my bread and butter. Look at this Cuba thread. I've been going over it. We got the Mint Press, Reuters, Daily Mail, articles galore, and we're going to go through some interesting videos in here. And I'm also going to show you guys some videos that have been sent to me in my DMs. I'm not going to show you my DMs, but I'm going to show you some of the things that have been sent to me in my DMs that are very, very based. So let's go ahead and look at not the Marxist. Actually, let's go to Reuters. We'll go to Reuters first. So check this out.
A show of solidarity by Cuban leadership on Saturday, as thousands attended a government-organized rally in the capital Havana, including President Miguel Diaz-Canel and former President Raul Castro. Many government supporters say they were there to defend the Cuban Revolution. That comes in the wake of unprecedented protests last week, as Cubans in towns across the country marched against power outages, widespread shortages of basic goods, and the one-party system. But while the communist-run government admitted to some shortcomings, it mostly blamed those protests on US-backed counter-revolutionaries, which it says spread information against the government on social media. And
which is absolutely true, by the way. You have like the National Endowment for Democracy and the USAID, two non-governmental organizations that are front orgs for the Central Intelligence Agency that actively embed counter-revolutionary elements within the country. Now, the primary reason for the shortages, as you guys know, are the embargoes. It's really just the embargoes. So, I mean, I'm kind of repeating myself here when I say that it's incredibly hypocritical for the U.S. media to concern troll for regime change in Cuba and talk about how much they care about the poor Cubans just for them to fucking conveniently ignore the shortages, which are the embargo, which is the primary driving cause of the shortages in the first place. So I'm very grateful to see that tens of thousands are in fact taking to the streets to talk about what is going on in Cuba, or support for their government. All these pro-government supportings, and from what I hear, gusanos are actually starting to cope on social media, and say that these protests people are being forced by the government to protest, you know? Like, apparently there's just security guards or soldiers from the Cuban government that are forcing people to protest. But anyways.
Exploiting economic hardship caused by U.S. sanctions.
No es por capricho que nos reunimos aquí esta mañana.
Diaz-Canel called on the U.S. to lift its trade embargo on the island nation, denouncing the blockade and what he calls U.S. aggression and terror.
Y de distanciamiento físico.
He also called Saturday's rally no small matter, as the country suffers from its worst outbreak since the start of the global health crisis. With a state monopoly on telecommunications, information regarding the recent protests, including the number of those detained, has been spotty. Exiled rights group Cubalex says as many as 450 have been detained, although some have reportedly already been released. The government has not yet revealed an official tally.
All right, so let's go through some of this article. Government supporters gathered on the city's seafront boulevard before dawn to wave Cuban flags and photos of the late revolutionary leader Fidel Castro and his brother Raul. The latter as a retired Communist Party leader in April, but promised to continue fighting for the revolution as a foot soldier. The government admitted some shortcomings this week, but mostly blamed the protests on U.S. Okay, so basically what they played in the video is what this article has to say. But anyways, what else do we got here? Protests were sponsored by U.S. using social media. Oh, how about that? The Bay of Tweets document point to U.S. hand in Cuban protests. Thank you. Thank you. We have been vindicated. We will. Oh my God. Guys, do you guys ever get fucking tired of being right? Whenever we call the CIA and call the glow op and the fucking rad libs are just saying that, oh no, we support these protests. They're like a genuine protest, you know? Remember that meme I showed you guys one time where it was like, it was Pogan's meme on Twitter where he shows fucking, like what's supposed to be tankies soy facing in anger at the Cuban protests, but then we're like soy facing in joy for the protests in Haiti. You know, this is the reason why we're selective about the protests that we back, because some of them are straight up a color revolution and other are like genuine left-wing protests asking or demanding for reform or revolution. You see, we have to be strategic about the protests that we support. Just because there are people or citizenry like workers out there in the streets doesn't mean we just automatically support the workers no matter what, you know? And for a good example of this, I'm mostly talking about the J6 riot. These same fucking rad libs that, you know, are calling us authoritarians for supporting the government against the protesters of Cuba, like that are talking shit. I'm pretty sure these motherfuckers, you know, wouldn't be in favor of the J6 riot. I'm pretty sure they wouldn't be in favor of the Capitol Hill riot. You know, these we're going to back protests and riots that are coming from the public no matter what, you know, the people that just don't think critically. It's such a stupid point, you know, it's such a dumb fucking point, you know, because these very same rad libs, I mean, it's just hypocrisy, you know, straight up. But anyways, onto the article. Havana, Cuba was rocketed by a series of anti-government street protests earlier this week. The U.S. establishment immediately hailed the events, putting its full weight behind the protesters. Yet documents suggest that Washington might be more involved in the events than it cares to publicly divulge. As many have reported, the protests, which started on Sunday in the town of Santiago de los Baños in the west of the island, were led and vocally supported by artists and musicians, particularly from the vibrant hip-hop scene. Quote, from those new to the issue of Cuba, the protests we are witnessing started by artists, not politicians. The song Patria y Vida powerfully explains how young Cubans feel, and its release was so impactful, you will go to jail if you are caught playing it in Cuba. Huh. Said Florida Senator Marco Rubio. Oh. Of course he'd say that. Both NPR and the New York Times published in-depth features about the song and how it was galvanizing the movement. Okay, so what do we got here? What details do we have? So some hip-hop artists were playing some Cuban hip-hop to inspire the protests. Oh, here's what I was looking for. NED. Let's see. For instance, one project called Empowering Cuban Hip-Hop Artists as Leaders in Society states that its goal is to promote citizens' participation in social change and to raise awareness about the role hip-hop artists have in strengthening democracy in the region. Another so-called promoting freedom and expression in Cuba through the arts claim is it's helping local artists on projects and related to democracy, human rights, and historical memory, and to help increasing awareness about the Cuban reality. This reality, as President Joe Biden himself stated this week, is the Cuban government is an authoritarian regime that meted out decades of repression while leaders only enrich themselves. Total fucking projection. Oh my God. Like, replace Cuba with America and reread that sentence. The American government is an authoritarian regime that meted out decades of repression while the leaders only enrich themselves. We're one of the most unequal countries, if not the most unequal country on the planet. This is pure goddamn projection. Other operations the NED is currently funding, including enhanced Cuban civil society ability to propose political alternatives and to transition to democracy. The agency never divulges with whom it works inside Cuba, nor any information beyond a couple anodyne blurbs, leaving Cubans to wonder whether any group even vaguely challenges political or society norms is secretly bankrolled by Washington. The State Department, the U.S. Agency for International Development, and the U.S. Agency for Media have all financed programs to support Cuban artists, journalists, bloggers, musicians. Tracy Eden, a journalist of the Cuba Money Project, told Mint Press, "It's impossible to say how many U.S. tax dollars have gone towards these programs over the years because details of many projects are kept secretly," he added. A currently active grant offer from the NED's sister organization, USAID, is offering $2 million worth of funding in groups that use culture to bring about social change in Cuba. Applicants have until July 30 to ask for up to $1 million each. Oh man, they are just pumping that glow money, that CIA grifter bucks straight into Cuba. Let's see, the graphics art shows how much money various artists have received from the U.S. government. Suntrap Media, Detmer. So this is a list of fucking artists in Cuba that have received money from the goddamn federal governments to do what they do. Jesus Christ. And but let me guess, this is all just tanky Stalinist conspiracy mongering, right? You know what I mean? This is just conspiracy mongering. So this is a perfect opportunity for me to, well, A, copy and paste this text document. Check that out. I'll go ahead and send this to you guys. It's a glow op. That's really all it is. It's a glow op. And the reason why we're treated like freaks and marginalized and, you know, and pushed into the corners and fringes of society as we are, well, this isn't the reason, but it's one of the reasons. And one of those reasons is for the simple reason that, you know, we're basically inoculated against the CIA's bullshit. Because we're so dedicated to the cause, we have a level of organizational ability that's like above and beyond what the anarchists do. Like, think about it. Think about what anarchism is all about, or like these other tendencies. It isn't about rigid discipline or protection against the CIA and so on. Like the main point behind ML in general as a tendency is ruthless discipline, centralized control, and defense, and the ability to stick together and remain on the same page with respect to the issues and to our goals, like everyone being united as one fist towards a common cause. So a friend of mine sent me some tweets these are some videos of the Cuban counter-protests, and I wanted to go through these with you guys. So we're about to go through with them. But first, I'm going to open this image. I'm going to show you guys just exactly how many people are behind the pro-government protests. So let me get out of my DMs real quick. Go and close this out. Open this up. Full screen that shit. So this is what I'm talking about right here. Share screen. I said share screen. There we go. So check this out, guys. These are the pro-Cuban protesters right here. See that shit? Tens of thousands. That actually looks like verging on hundreds of thousands right there, because if it doesn't stop there, we're looking at like roughly 100,000 people right now. These are the pro-government protests that took place a little over a week ago, about a week and a half ago. And this is what it looks like. These are people rallying in support of the Cuban government. These are the people rallying in support. So let's go ahead and go through some videos. Let's do this shit. You ready, comrades? You ready for this? Ready for this? Check this out. I have no idea what they're saying, but this is very good news, what we're seeing right here. Very good news. Here, I got some more for you guys. Another. Here we go again. See that shit? Hell yeah. Solidarity to the Cuban people. Look at that. That is a lot of fucking people. There's more people out there at that protest than at the Black Lives Matter protest that I attended back last year. Holy shit. Holy shit. I wonder if the rad libs are going to report on this angle of it, you know, the pro government protests. And anyway, probably not. But still, this protest has my blessing and support, uncritically, because they are standing in solidarity with the government. But next, I want to show you a couple videos I found, a couple videos that just relays the general consciousness, the difference between the Gusanos and the Peter Panners that are from Cuba, or that are from Cuba, and the people that live in Cuba, like the actual citizenry of Cuba versus the Gusanos, because the Gusanos are protesting in solidarity with the anti-government protesters, and some of them are calling for the outright U.S. military intervention of Cuba. Now check this out. Well, wait, hold on. Let me make sure you guys can hear it. Sorry, guys. Let's do this. Stop sharing. I just want to make sure that sounds good. But anyways, let's do this. The Cuban people are keeping the revolution alive. Oh yes, rad libs only show the Gusano protests from the ground to make them look bigger. Yeah, but no, the pro-government protesters outnumber the anti-government protesters by orders of magnitude, easily. Like, I have seen way more people protesting in favor of the government than protesting against it. But anyways, check this out. I hope you guys can hear it. I hope you guys aren't hearing in double. In fact, I'm going to put my headphones on so that you guys don't hear in double, because I know that this has been a perpetual issue on our show, Chaos Under Heaven. So let me go ahead and get these headphones in. Let me go ahead and get these headphones in, and we'll go ahead and play the video. Sorry, guys. This is what you get when you're not organized. But yeah, I'm very excited about what's going on. Very excited indeed. There we go. All right, there we go. Yep, there we go. So I'm going to play this. If you guys can't hear it, then let me know.
What the government is doing in Cuba is they're taking kids 14, 15, 16 years old. I mean, Cuba military service, it's an obligation. It's not an option like it is here. You have to do it. If you're between the ages of military service, it's a luxury that we have here that we can choose to go there or no. It doesn't matter the age. As long as you're in military service age, you have to do it.
You're an idiot, dude. Like, do you not realize that they're a tiny, poor-ass, broke, fucking sanctioned island off the coast of the most powerful empire in history? Like, people just are not trained to think. Like, they're not trained to think of, like, material conditions. Like, seriously. And I know, like, dipshit rad libs are just gonna be like, oh, excuses, excuses. I can already hear Vosh talking in my head saying that shit. But yeah, here's the really fucked up part.
And what they're doing is they're taking these kids, they're like I said, they're 14, 15 years old, they're putting them into trucks, and they're making them go against their own town, against their own people, because they threaten them and say, if you don't do it, we're gonna come after your parents. So when you see those people that are in favor of the government in Cuba, it's a lie. It's a lie. People are just scared. This
is straight up Gusano cope. Like, fucking seriously. Oh, they're just rounding people up and forcing them to protest for the government. Really? They're forcing that entire city full of hundreds of thousands of people to fucking protest. Like, oh, really? This is straight Gusano cope.
And that's what they've done. They've scared them to do what they want to
Gusano
do.
cope.
But Cuba wants to be free. Their people wants to be free. They want to have free speech. They want to have free and fair elections. They want what we have here, and that's so hard for some people to understand. And sometimes, I mean, they say free education. It's not free. It's not free because you know what? When you're
they pay with freedom.
10 years old, you know what
they pay with freedom. It's not free
they're
education.
picking potatoes because they make them work for an education. And then when they're done the free university, they have to dedicate their lives to the government. So it's not free. Don't think that a doctor is going to be
I would rather dedicate my life to a proletarian state apparatus where we're all united as one under a common cause, a proletarian state apparatus that serves my needs and interests and actually wants to see me thrive and take care of me, rather than a bourgeois state apparatus that doesn't give a shit about me, where I'm forced to fucking wage cuck it my entire life for a corporation until I get hurt. And then when I'm no use to them anymore, they're just going to lay me off or fire me. And then I'm going to have nothing going for me. Like, seriously, dude, the price of freedom. Yeah, the freedom to work for Walmart for 50 to 60 hours a week because there is no living wage in this country. So people have to fucking work multiple jobs or be on welfare while working full time just so, you know, their children don't starve. And then, you know, this is what's really disgusting to me about Republicans in general. When they talk about taking away welfare, or when they're talking about doing away with welfare or like our government assistance for like the poor and so on, what they're really talking about is taking food out of the mouths of hungry children, because those are who the majority of welfare recipients are in the United States. Most of them, in fact, vast majority of them are children. So that's the demographic they're screwing when they talk about slicing welfare. Just keep that in mind.
Free medicine is going to be making what a doctor here in the United States makes. That's not what it is. So it's a lie. It's a lie. People, they buy it. And it's, I mean, just, it's, sometimes people just take superficial news.
I hate this fallacy, this fucking fallacy that, you know, doctors deserve, because they're high-skilled workers, they somehow deserved to, like, make exponentially more than the average person, you know? Like, just because they went to got their education, went to school, you know? Soviets and other socialist countries had no shortage of doctors, and they had no shortage of engineers or scientists. And they didn't need to pay their engineers and scientists. I mean, they got paid more, don't get me wrong. Like, they certainly made more than the average person. But, like, all I'm saying is, do we really want people going to school to become doctors and engineers just for the money? You know what I mean? That's all I'm saying. I'm sorry, but I'm getting sidetracked. I'm just saying I wouldn't trust a doctor that's only in it for the money. That's just me personally.
And they, okay, yeah, they told me it's like this and that's the way it is. It's not. It's not like that. Nothing is for free. Nothing is free. You have to work for it one way or...
Yeah, fuck you, bitch. Anyways, let's go ahead and look at that other video down right here. I think this is it. Yeah, I think this is it. This is the Cuban gusanos. These are the American gusanos that are advocating for military intervention in Cuba. They're out there protesting for it. These fucking gusanos. Watch this shit. Our Cuban brothers need an intervention. Military, our option must be on the table. Some Cuban Americans in Miami are calling for a military invasion of Cuba. You guys see this? Okay, just making sure. We Cubans need to solve our own problems without interference or intervention. So notice the difference in consciousness between the Gusano and the people that live there. If any military intervention happens here, anyone could die.
Saben que no tienen idea de lo que significaría una intervención militar para nuestro país. Eso sería un desastre.
No quisiera que Cuba sea ni la estrella de una bandera ni una colonia de ninguna nación.
No se lo vamos a permitir. Y porque aquí hay 20 gente dispuesta a luchar por él. Y entre ellos...
There are a lot of people willing to fight, and I'm one of them. Fuck yeah, dude. Like, seriously. No, an invasion or intervention in Cuba would be a total fucking disaster. U.S. troops would be paying in gallons of blood every inch they try to take from the country. I mean, there's this one old man. In fact, I'm going to show you guys that video next. Who puts it best? He's just like, they're going to have to kill us all. You know, they're going to have to kill us all. So I'm going to try to find this old man. This old man who's on TikTok. Let me see. No. Sorry, guys. Here it is. I'm going to download this shit and show you guys. Open file. Here we go. We're going to go live again as soon as I close my DMs. Share. Going live. Here we go. Check this out.
Aquí nosotros estamos hoy defendiendo lo que
We are defending what we did
hicimos
60
hace
years
60
ago,
años.
and that
Y
is
que esto
ours,
es
and that
nuestro,
it costs
y que
many
esto costó
lives.
mucha vida, y que más nunca volverá
Capitalism will never come back here again, and these
aquí el
mercenaries
capitalismo. Y que estos mercenarios pagados por el imperio más
paid by
nunca
the
van a
US
coger la
empire
calle
will
nuestra.
never again take to our
Primero
streets.
tienen que matar, primero tienen que
First, they'll have to kill us all. Yeah, and that's what's going to end up happening. This based old man right here. I love that shit.
Aquí nosotros estamos hoy defendiendo lo que hicimos hace 60 años.
Fucking
Y que
badass
esto es
Cuban
nuestro,
boomer.
y que esto costó mucha vida y que más nunca volverá aquí el capitalismo. Y que estos mercenarios pagados por el imperio más nunca van a coger las calles nuestras. Primero tienen que matar, primero tienen que matarnos a todos.
Fuck yeah. Good shit, guys. Good shit. Have you ever noticed the Gusanos talk perfect English without the accents? Yeah, I notice. They don't care. They want their plantations back. I can't believe the regime is arresting CIA agents and counter-revolutionaries. That's authoritarian. Yeah, no, dude, these people have no shame. These people, these moralizers, they only support socialism insofar as it doesn't hurt their moral sensibilities. Like they're fucking cowards because they support regimes in a socialism that isn't it's sterile. It's not like just sterile socialism is what they're in favor of. There's a post that someone made that like perfectly summarizes it, and I'm gonna read that post right now. Admittedly, it's from Bunker Chan, if I can find it. But yeah, no, like the pure socialist, as Michael Parenti, supports every revolution except the ones that actually succeed and take and hold power for any meaningful sense of time. But I'm going to tell you right now that most anarchists would not support actually existing anarchism if their regimes lasted long enough for them to make some serious mistakes. That's really it. Because the regimes they're in favor of haven't like survived long enough to make any real or substantial mistakes. They haven't made it as far to the point to where they can be put in positions where they can make mistakes. They fucking they support them, you know. So here's the comment, the quote: "The historical losers are easier for moralists to support because they didn't have enough time to make ugly authoritarian decisions. Anarchists are also masochists with a slave morality, so they think losing is some kind of moral virtue, when really all it means is that you're a loser." Yeah, losing is a moral virtue, but because, yeah, we failed, but at least we had true socialism, right? And I'm not trying to bash on anarchists, and I'm not trying to bash on radlibs, but it's because they bash on us constantly, dude. It's like they're constantly coming at us and like scapegoating us for all of the left's problems, you know? And that brings me to fucking Pogan, like seriously. So there's some videos that I want to react to. Let me go ahead and pull them up. In fact, is David PACMAN in the title? Let's see what's on the agenda list right now. So, Cuban protests, right-wing spooks. Okay, so I'm going to go to David PACMAN next. First, anarchists only support Rojava, the one anarchist experiment that happens to be funded by the U.S. and is an anarchist, by the way. Did you guys know that Rojava has private property and capitalist economic relations? Yeah, they've got small businesses, they've got private firms, they have a private sector, they have, they have a one-party dictatorship, stay classy, and, they got collective farms and cooperative farming, but I wouldn't exactly call it socialist or anarchist either. I would describe it as like a social democratic Kurdish ethno-state. Because, a lot of people don't talk about this, but the way Rojava, like, minorities get treated in Rojava, discrimination against minorities. I read an article forever ago. Rojava conflict, religions, revolution, war, the rise of Rojava. Really, that's what it is, for all intents and purposes. It's basically a Kurdish ethno-state, but that's not what this video is about. So let's go ahead and talk about David PACMAN. David PACMAN tells us why he's not a socialist. I'm going to try to get through as many of these as possible because we only have a limited time here. But, yeah. Son of a bitch. Here we go. David PACMAN. Let's do this. Why David PACMAN is not a socialist. Are you guys ready for this? Ready for this? Let's do this. Let's do this. So here we are. Let's go ahead and speed it up a bit for brevity's sake.
Socialism versus social democracy. And I talked to you about how, especially since Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's win in New York, there has been sort of more and more confusion as to what is democratic socialism versus what is social democracy. And I did a story explaining the difference. Democratic socialism is actually socialism, wants to remove capitalism and replace it with socialized ownership of the means of production, at least originally, although now there are people who say, well, they're still democratic socialists, but they don't actually want that, which makes me question whether they're actually democratic socialists at this point.
Okay, democratic socialists are, for lack of a better word, revisionists. They're people that want to prioritize reform and get revolution at the ballot box. That's what a democratic socialist is, all right? And social democracy is capitalism with welfare. That's all it is. It's social democracy is a bribe. Democratic socialism is a pipe dream, all right? The only reason that someone should be a DemSoc, or people really are DemSocs, is generally because of a lack of theory. That's what I've noticed. A lot of people go to the DemSoc pipeline after SocDem, and they also don't know the limits and the shortcomings of their own ideology, because actually existing democratic socialism has failed virtually every time. Because, I mean, the most notable example is Salvador Allende, or look at Nicolas Maduro. If you do manage to win the elections and have your revolution at the ballot box, they will fucking coup you and install a fascist dictator. They got rid of Allende and replaced him with Pinochet, all right? And if they can't coup you, then the bourgeoisie of your own country, because you're not going to just liquidate them, you have the bourgeoisie, they're not going to go away peacefully. They're just going to undermine you at every turn. Like, look at Venezuela. Venezuela is trying to do it completely peacefully and legally, and look how badly they're suffering for it, you know? So that's my main beef with democratic socialism, all right? I mean, I don't have a problem with democratic socialists, but I've noticed that many of the most practical DemSocs that I've talked to sound a lot more like MLs than they do DemSocs.
And then on the other hand, we talked about social democracy, which is a progressive movement that I got from people in the audience was, I mean, of course, other than trolling, was, what's your position, David? And I've mentioned before that I'm not a socialist. I'm a social democrat in the sort of Nordic or Swedish tradition. And today I'm going to explain to you why I am not a socialist. And I'm happy.
Okay, let's do this. Let's do this. Are you guys ready for our minds to be changed? Are you guys ready to hear David PACMAN's Galaxy Brains takes? Are you ready for this, guys? Let's do this. Let us do this. You guys ready for this shit? You guys ready? Let's do it. All right, convince me. David PACMAN, convince me. Convince me.
Happy to do this. It's something that's been an area of study for me since undergraduate and even including in graduate school. And I'm going to start sort of at the end, and then we'll walk through it. Fundamentally, I'm not a socialist because I want an egalitarian, free, self-determining society. And that type of society will not emerge from
capitalism. No, I'm just kidding.
Self-determining society. And that type of society will not emerge from authoritarian apparatus. And what that means is that at the national level.
So wait, authoritarian apparatus? You know, I agree with him, which is why we need to overturn capitalism in the United States. We've got a police state, tons of police officers that look like they're from Starship Troopers, you know? Like, this is what our fucking police look like nowadays. You know, you guys ever see Starship Troopers? Yeah, so, anyways, not only that, but we, like, have the highest prisoner count per world. You can go to jail for smoking the wrong plant. Not only that, we have the NSA, which routinely spies on, like, literally everyone, everywhere. You've got the Central Intelligence Agency that actively undermines democracy globally. Dude, there's a million and one examples. You can get fucking arrested for being out in public drunk. Like, there's like a million and one examples of authoritarianism that you could point to in the United States, you know, freedom land. People will often point out, like, yeah, but we have free speech. Like, okay, we have free speech. You realize how totally inconsequential that is when the only means, all the outlets and means by which people receive information are disseminated by the ruling class. So they completely control the media and all the information that gets to us, and they just drown out the opposition in the media because they own billions of dollars worth of mainstream news and media and intelligentsia and so on. So like, because our free speech isn't really consequential, they can tolerate our existence and they can be like, see, we're a free society after all.
Socialist and communist structures are fundamentally authoritarian and at scale.
Why? Why are they authoritarian? Why is that a problem with you? Oh, is it because lack of freedom? Oh, maybe if you're a capitalist, sure. But if you're a worker, you have more freedom because you have institutions that are actually designed to meet your needs rather than just try and exploit you.
Enacting socialism or communism becomes authoritarian. And a top example is Venezuela. Let's assume in good faith that the Chavez-Maduro goal was a true...
You're an idiot, dude. You literally have no idea what you're fucking talking about. Venezuela, it's been tested and verified. Let's look at this. Venezuela, best, fairest elections in world. It's only America and our fucking it's only America and our fucking our allies, like our NATO allies, that say their elections were illegitimate. But like they've done like right here, the Organization of American States has consistently urged Venezuela to cancel the May 20 elections. Yeah, even though Chavez and Maduro have won consistently fair and square, like what we've seen, what they've studied, the National Electoral Council announced a referendum. It ultimately overruled by over 50% of the voting population in the year. The opposition claimed fraud, but their allegations were consistently denied, citing the International Electoral Observer. Let's see. My point here is that I think it's the Truman Foundation, or ex-President Truman, who said that they had the most free and fair elections in the world, and that they have completely legitimate elections, and the opposition is full of shit. The opposition make up like a tiny minority of upper-class white Venezuelans that hate the Maduro government because they're taxed and the government wants to expropriate. But this dude is a total fucking idiot, by the way, because that is not true at all. Like, not even close to true. Venezuela is actually an example of actually existing democratic socialism. It's not tankyism or Marxism-Leninism. I wish it was. Then they'd be able to get some good work done. You'd stop bargaining with your goddamn exploiters and just expropriate, and then put them all on tiny little boats and have them deported to the United States. It's what they ought to do. That's what a socialist ought to do. But unfortunately, they're more concerned with like a utopian cultural socialism rather than what's like pragmatically and realistically what needs to be done.
Truly egalitarian, free, thriving society. I don't know if it was, but let's be charitable, right? And they really did want that as the end goal. When you put aside the populist collectivist rhetoric of that regime, the Venezuelan regime is an authoritarian imposition of government without all sorts of freedoms, lacking in press freedom, lacking in judicial freedom. It's a long list, and I'm opposed to it. And
you have no idea what the fuck you're talking about, dude. There wouldn't be Juan Guaido out in the streets proclaiming himself to be the president of Venezuela if it was really as authoritarian as you say. If it was as authoritarian as you say, you wouldn't have Juan Guaido going around saying that Maduro is not the rightful leader, that Juan Guaido, the guy who didn't even run in the elections. Remember, guys, Guaido didn't even run in the elections that he claims were fraudulent. He didn't even run, and yet he's just driving around the country, you know, nobody's stopping him, declaring himself to be the rightful president. To the point to where, like, there were just open coup d'etats taking place in the country. To the point to where, like, You've got the opposition that are, well, routinely protest, and not just protest, but like riot and do property damage and like kill people, like the brutal opposition in Venezuela that are just a bunch of fascists, basically. And this dipshit is sitting here telling us that this country that's just openly tolerating this level of opposition and wrecking is authoritarian. The country that doesn't even have the balls to expropriate and nationalize their industry. Like, seriously? Venezuela does not, like, the vast majority of their economy is privately owned, guys. And the reason why they're suffering is because of capital strike. If they would just take the capital from the capitalists and actually institute real socialism, you know, what the fuck are dipshits like PACMAN going to do it? What are these idiots going to do about it? Like, seriously, whine and decry that Maduro's a dictator? They already do that. They already accuse him of all of the shit that he needs to do in order to fucking get a grip on his country. So yeah, no, David PACMAN, you're supposed to be like a fucking journalist, like a news person, and you don't know this? How do you not know this? Like, oh my God, do they fucking grow you people in a laboratory? Jesus Christ. This man is not deserving of the platform he has been giving. This dude, he doesn't deserve it. He should not have this platform. I'm just saying, if you don't know, like, if you aren't willing to do the basic journalistic research to figure out what is actually going on in Venezuela, like, guys, I'm not even a journalist. I'm like a layman when it comes to this stuff. I just read articles about it. You know, and I know more about the situation than this guy does, who has over 1 million subscribers, who makes the money he does from TYT saying the shit he does. Like, oh my, I gotta calm down. This dude is gonna give me an aneurysm. That, and also David PACMAN is very much bourgeois media. This is what bourgeois media looks like. Don't kid yourself. This dude is not far left just because he wants single-payer health care. Does not make this guy a leftist, so don't kid yourself.
Whatever their intentions were, their imposition of those intentions in this authoritarian way has led to absolute disaster. And some socialists, Leninists, will say that the opposition to the Venezuelan regime is American AstroTurf, or that the replacement to Maduro might be worse.
Yes.
Step back for a second.
100%.
An authoritarian apparatus will not lead to an egalitarian, self-determining society, period.
Oh, really? Is that the reason why... Hold on. Income inequality, Russia. Is that the reason why? Hold on a second. Let's look at this. Let's do a little research. So, top 1% of Russia between 1905 and 1925. Ooh, and look at that. Income inequality is flattened roughly around 4 to 5% on average. 4% income inequality. And it actually fell between 1950 and 1980. It actually, income inequality was continuing to trend down. So you've got this, and look, ooh, freedom comes back, capitalism comes back. Boop, 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 boop. See that shit? But before then, check that out. Top 10% of Russia, top 10% of USA, France. No, income inequality is going up everywhere, except France, evidently. So I rest my case. If fucking average income inequality flatlined for the entire duration that the Soviets were socialist and that these other countries were socialist, and it didn't become ultra unequitable and unequal until after socialism was gone, that completely blows a hole in your argument. You don't know what you're talking about, dude. Just fucking commit Sudoku already, seriously.
Before we get to all of the conclusions, we need to talk about what we mean when we say socialism or communism. When did it start? What does it actually mean? So for our conversation today, when I talk about socialism, I'm talking about modern socialism and communism in the tradition of the 19th century. And if you go back to our Socialism Has Never Worked debunked video, we mentioned older societies and sort of collectivist iterations of economic arrangements. But for today, we're talking about modern socialist theory. And that dates back roughly to about the 1800s. And there are three main lines of socialist theory.
This guy looks like he's definitely read his theory, hasn't he? Guarantee you that he doesn't know more than what he's probably watched in a 5-minute Richard Wolff video in the lead up to producing this sad excuse for whatever the hell he's doing here.
One who likes to talk about socialism on the internet actually knows about this stuff. This is really important. This is the nuts and bolts. First, you had the utopians in the 19th century. These are people like Saint-Simon, Fourier, and Owen. And their idea was that there would be the development of these collectivist, egalitarian, sort of perfect, as the name utopian implies, societies, sometimes in isolated enclaves, and they would eventually spread. And I actually do believe that individually they can work, but once you say this is the system for the country, it becomes authoritarian in its implementation.
Yeah, because revolutions are inherently authoritarian. You know, okay, so I want to touch briefly on utopian socialism here real quick. I do not agree with utopianism because you're never going to be able to create like individual isolated communes out in the countryside or within the cities. You're not going to be able to have isolated pockets of socialism within a larger capitalist country because the ruling class, they are going to come for you, they will find you, they will expropriate, and they will crush you and drive you off your land, as has been done repeatedly over and over again. Or because you're still going to be dependent on outside civilization, those people aren't going to be truly integrated into the commune. So you've also got that as well. The point is that we're still plugged into a capitalist system, and the utopian trends weren't really trying to overthrow it so much as they were just trying to escape it. They were trying to escape capitalism rather than overthrow it. On the other hand, with Marxism-Leninism and revolutionary socialism, you have the organized overthrow of capitalism, the old regime, and the establishment of socialism and the dictatorship of the proletariat. And the only reason this seems authoritarian is because it is. It's authoritarian towards capitalists. It's authoritarian towards the private owners, towards the wealthy, towards people like David PACMAN. He wouldn't be able to run his fucking grift in my system, and that's the reason why he doesn't like my system. So let's talk a bit about authoritarianism again. You guys want to know what authoritarianism is? Want to know about it? Want to know why they say mustache man bad, communism kill billion people? Want to know why they say these things? It's to try and manipulate the onlooker and terminate critical thought to keep people from thinking too deeply about these topics and developing critical thinking skills and actually learning Marxist theory. Like, the only time you hear about Marxism and socialism by the mainstream media is when they're trying to lambast it and talk shit about it, which is why we have David PACMAN right here educating us in the glorious ways of his liberalism.
Develop conflicts between these utopian enclaves, but as usual, there was some good stuff proposed there, okay? Their theory applied to an individual company or
yes, I want the harmless, neutered socialism that doesn't actually challenge and take power. You know, I don't want actual proper socialism, you know, that actually threatens to take and hold power. No, that's authoritarian, that's bad, you know.
Commune or a village. It's actually a pretty good idea. I've just not seen evidence that utopian theory can apply to a country of 300 million, for example, but I'm willing to have my mind changed. After the utopians came the anarchists.
I seriously doubt it. I seriously doubt. With what you're making on this, does this guy have a Patreon? Let's see what his Patreon is. Let's see. Oh, wow. Look at this. 6,400 per month. Guys, I'm counting 6,480 reasons why David PACMAN is not going to have his mind changed. All right? As a wise man once said, it is difficult to get a man to understand something when his bread, his paycheck, is dependent on him not understanding it. You know, I ought to debate David PACMAN if he's willing to. I'd fucking gladly slap his ass around, metaphorically speaking, of course.
The sort of second line of socialists. And the main thing with the anarchists was that government is the problem. They were actually a lot like the more extreme libertarians of today for different reasons than libertarianism. The anarchist socialists saw the government mostly as an apparatus that reinforces the status quo of class divisions, bourgeoisie versus proletariat, or today we could say corporate versus individual.
Oh, how cute, how cute. He's appropriating our language now. How adorable. It's learning.
Or elites versus everybody else. And libertarians, of course, oppose government for different reasons, but there was actually a similarity there. And that also doesn't appeal to me. As most people know, I'm against this on principle. I think that the government does have a role to play. But that being said, the anarchists...
The government has a role to play to be the big swinging dick state apparatus that violently suppresses workers' rights and secures the stranglehold of the bourgeoisie. That's the role of the state. He wants a state that's just more friendly. That's what he wants. He wants a state that bribes the workers, that gives workers a little bit of concessions here and there, that gives them a little bit of this and that, just enough to keep people from rebelling and actually wanting to change the system for good, you know? It's in this way that David PACMAN is a literal fucking Freikorp. Like, just saying, this guy, he is the Freikorp. He is the counter-revolutionary socialist. He is the Menshevik that allied with the White Guardists in the Russian Civil War. That's what you're seeing right now, guys. You see this, man? You're seeing the leftists that got purged in the Soviet Union, all right? The leftists that are actively dangerous and harmful to the cause. This dude is the reincarnation of that shit. Same with the rest of these fucking rad libs.
Had some valid critiques. Governments often do become pillars of support for corporate rule. They do reinforce the status quo. They do reinforce power structures. I've seen no evidence that eliminating the government is the solution in the way that...
Well, oh, wow. I actually agree with him. I actually think he's right about something.
That the anarcho-socialists or the libertarians believed. Super interesting that even though now libertarians and socialist thought had a lot in common with libertarianism. They agree. They don't want central government because it's oppressive and tyrannical, but for different reasons. And then after the utopians and after the
libertarians are a spook. Let's see.
Anarchists, you get to what are now the most common versions of socialism. After utopianism and anarchism came Marxist-Leninism, if we consider it.
Oh man, I wish we were the most common type of socialist. Jesus. I wish we were a monolith. Holy shit, that would be so helpful. Like, apparently there's a few 100,000 people like all together between all the socialist orgs in America. If the DSA was ML, oh Jesus, that's like what, 60,000 MLs right there. Oh Lord, that would be. We get a lot of good shit done, so that would be very helpful if we were predominantly Marxist-Leninist. I wish you were right about that, David.
Or Marxism and then Leninism. They're not actually the same thing. And there, once again, there is stuff of value.
Demonstrating your lack of theory.
People could realize that many of the critiques made by socialism are actually really good, we'd be much better off. Some of the solutions they propose have only elements of good ideas, and in Marxism, it's the labor theory of value. Extraordinarily brilliant analysis of how capitalism works, which basically pointed out that you have fixed costs. Like if you're going to make a product, if you're going to make computers, for example, you've got your fixed material costs. You've got the factory, you need to buy the semiconductors, all of that stuff. And then you bring in workers and you pay them something with the idea that they add more than that to the total value, and that's surplus value. You might have in a $100 computer, $50 of parts, and then $50 of added value. If you can pay the worker $30 to add $50 of value, you've created $20 of surplus value.
You have, yeah, and you ripped off the employee. Yeah, so what's your solution to that? Just tax the rich more, I guess?
This is a great analysis. This is an absolutely accurate analysis. The problem is I don't believe the ultimate solution to that identification is the end stage of capitalism with a Marxist revolution. That's not what I see as the long-term solution. So
yeah, because you benefit from this system in various ways and you're ideologically committed. Instead, you want your fucking milquetoast social democracy, which isn't even sustainable because it's only a matter of time before the ruling class just overturns those social democratic reforms and redistributive tax policies because of the falling rate of profit. So it's only a matter of time before they overturn it and chip away at it so they can continue to liberalize, you know? And mind you, guys, just to let you know, just to let any sock dems listening to this know, it has actually been because of revolutionaries that we have gotten sock dem reforms in the first place. Like, you know, single payer healthcare, among other reforms like minimum wage and, you know, figures like Franklin D. Roosevelt. The reason why we even got social democrats is because it was a concession. It was a compromise to keep the working class from revolting. That's the reason why, because there was a point in time when socialists were so well organized and had their shit together to the point to where they actually threatened to dethrone the capitalist system. And it was only then that the ruling class gave into concessions, you know? And the biggest mistake that socialists made historically was giving in to those concessions, and not even giving in, but really just, not even being revolutionary enough, like working too much within the bourgeois state, fornicating too much within the bourgeois state. I feel like that's part of the problem. So like, if it takes revolutionary action to get the reforms you want, because for a fact they're not going to do it through like the means and praxis which Kyle Kalinske and David PACMAN advocate. They advocate that we vote and that we try to get politicians elected to do it for us. No, we need to take the power ourselves, and we're not going to take the power ourselves by passing on our political responsibility to some demagogue that's paying lip service to the workers' cause so that they can win an election. We're not going to win by having career politicians like AOC and Bernie Sanders, fight for us. I mean, we only win when we take the power ourselves and we actually have like a proletarian alternative, So this guy doesn't have shit.
So again, utopianism. I don't think it would work at the country level, but for individual companies or communes, I think it's actually a great idea to organize co-ops and shared ownership. Great. That has worked. We can apply it to healthcare. We can apply it to education. I don't see that as the solution to all of society. Anarchism, skeptical of government. Government has become a tool of the elites in many ways. We see it in the United States with Democrats and Republicans using government as a way to maintain the status quo.
Which is why we need a new state. We need a state that fights for workers' rights. We need to create a new proletarian state that's self-reproducing, that's capable of doing such,
Good critique. I disagree that eliminating government is the solution. And so what previously had been sort of a cohesive movement, but with different approaches, utopianism, anarchism, Marxism, Leninism, eventually what we saw around the time of Lenin was a split between actual socialists and those who went in the direction of social democracy. And I believe that there are a number of reasons why social democracy is the way forward and socialism is not. And in explaining this to you, you'll identify many right-wing arguments against socialism.
Okay,
which
let's do it.
Leninist sort of tradition is simply not aligned with the realities of human distribution. Because when we look at human endeavors, they have...
Hey, listen to this. Here's his reasons, guys. We're finally getting to his reasons.
Socialism, which I actually don't think are good ones. And this gets to one of my fundamental oppositions to socialism's view of the distributions of outcomes versus social democracies.
Okay, so right off the gate, it's a straight misrepresentation and misunderstanding of what we're about. It is not equality of outcome, all right? We are not talking about equality of outcome, we are talking about equality of opportunity, because everything you want, we would actually implement and we would do it better than you, because we're not wasting a third of the country's resources subsidizing the existence of private oligarchs, whom, by the way, have it within their own best interests to undermine said social democratic reforms. Instead, we have a system that doesn't prop up an exploitative ruling class of private oligarchs. We instead have a system where the proceeds of a worker's labor goes to themselves as well as the common fund. And because there is no private class of oligarchs, because we're not wasting resources and wealth and people's time on rents, dividends, or advertising, or the stock market, or the other stupid shit that we waste resources on, we can instead turn around and free up that labor to make sure everybody's needs are met in a sustainable manner, while advancing the productive forces and advancing towards a society that's like technologically advanced enough to where we can achieve true communism. But we're far away from it, but that's the goal. All right. So like right out the gates, based on a complete misunderstanding. But let's move on. Also, there would still be pay inequality in socialism. I'm just saying.
Socialism in the Marxist, Leninist sort of tradition is simply not aligned with the realities of human distribution. Because when we look at human endeavors, they have unequal distribution. If you look at athletic ability and how it's distributed, if you look at linguistic proficiency.
Another straw man. Here we go with the straw man again. Nobody is saying that we chop off the legs of the tall guy to make him as short as everybody else. Nobody is saying that, we dumb down the music so that, we don't have high-skilled musicians and everyone's equally as good. You'll actually find that de-skilling is very common in capitalism, like the de-skilling of labor and the lowering of the bar, because it saves money on their costs to get workers, because if they can de-skill labor and make people worse at the job, or not necessarily need to be good at a job in order to do it, then it saves money. So the de-skilling, and the causing of equal outcomes is actually happening under your system, PACMAN, and not only that, but like, again, inequality would still exist in socialism. There just wouldn't be any exploitation that would come with it. Let's see what else he's got.
if you look at business success, if you look at
So yeah, human nature is basically what he's saying. You know, something human nature. Genius level IQ, news journalist, guy who apparently went to school for this shit, TYT news pundit, and this is the caliber of journalists that we got. Not even Kyle is this ignorant. Like, seriously, at least Kyle Kalinske, you know, isn't this fucking ignorant. Well, I mean, he actually kind of is. I take that back.
human height, human weight. It's all distributed on a curve. And on the one hand, where socialism wants to level out the distribution in a way that I've not seen evidence can actually be achieved.
It's a total false equivalence. No one's talking about making everyone equally skinny or equally short. We're talking about doing away with class society. Like, fucking seriously, dude. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Without significant downsides. What social democracy wants to do is tweak that distribution, lower the absolute top, raise the bottom a little bit, and then reduce the gap between the very bottom and the very top. You're sort of level.
Yeah, he wants there to be inequality. He wants there to be multimillionaires still, you know? This is the reason why I don't like social democracy. It's such a half measure. Like, we have the resources to say, eliminate homelessness. I'm sorry, I'm getting a phone call. Not now. We have the wealth and we have the resources to fucking, you know, eliminate homelessness, for example, and yet we don't do it. Hold on, my girlfriend's texting me. All right, anyways. So, as I was saying, like, in these Nordic countries that this guy loves to jack off, there's still like 10 to 20,000 homeless people in these countries. Like, there's still homeless people, you know? And so, yeah, they have government programs to deal with the problem, but they still haven't eliminated the problem. They still have poverty rates around 10 to 15% in these countries, you know? So there's still poor people in these countries. So we could have the social democratic system you're in favor of, where we still have poverty, we still have homelessness, and we still have people that can't get the health care that they need. Or we could have my socialist system where there's no homelessness, there's no impoverishment, there's no unemployment, and people are actually get their needs met in a sustainable manner that doesn't involve wrecking the planet, you know? So even under your circumstance, my situation, my system's better. So you can advocate for your little shitty half measures all you want, but I want to go all the way, you know?
Oh, you're raising the mean and reducing the difference between top and bottom.
Yeah, so you're still cool with income inequality. You're still cool with there being some homeless people and there's still being some people who are just miserable, as long as you get yours, right? As long as you get yours, right? Who gives a damn about the homeless? As long as I have a chance to be a millionaire and have my golden plated yacht, you know? I don't care if there's still a little bit of poverty. I don't care if like 10% of the population is still living in squalor. As long as I, as an individual, have this ultra slim chance of getting wealthy at the expense of others, even though there's no scientific evidence that you're going to be any happier making millions of dollars a year versus making 60 to 80 million dollars per year. That's a fact. There's no scientific evidence that you will be any happier as a millionaire as if you were just making 80,000 a year. You guys can look that study up on your own, but it's true. So yeah, all that pointless wealth that it's just wasteful and inefficient. Like I don't know why people don't think about this shit critically, man. Like, it's ridiculous.
I think it's important to look at Sweden as an example. The right hates looking at Sweden. Sweden's Social Democratic Party, which I identify with, was built on 5 principles that will sound really familiar to social democrats, to people who follow Bernie Sanders. And those 5 principles were, number 1, an integrative democracy. That means, and we can leave this up, that means that democratic decision-making is the standard for legitimacy, period. Real democracy. The people decide the direction. Number 2.
That's not the way it works in those countries, but okay, go on.
2, the concept of the people's home, meaning solidarity and equality of treatment as something that everybody is committed to. There's no debate, right? You need that.
Okay, so let's go ahead and look at these. So integrative democracy, you would have that under socialism, but better. You would actually have collective decision making because we would have workers' councils and trade unions and so on. People's home, just fucking cliches and platitudes. It's just a platitude, empty, hollow platitude. Socioeconomic equality and economic efficiency are complementary. You will never get that in a market economy. a socially controlled market economy. You will never get that in a market economy because markets are inherently undemocratic, unstable, and they inherently generate class economic relations and the consolidation of wealth and power. I've talked about the Gibbs-Boltzmann distribution, and I encourage you guys to watch my debate with ThoughtBad because I talk all about it. You know, the Gibbs-Boltzmann distribution, basically the propensity for through random interactions within a market economy, there's a perpetual scientific trend, like scientifically provable trend towards consolidation of wealth and like instability and so on. But under a planned economy, you wouldn't have that. You wouldn't have booms and busts. You wouldn't have homeless people. You wouldn't have unemployment. You'd be able to meet everyone's needs and we'd all get to prosper, you know? Proper expansion of the public sector expands freedom, all right? So if we're going to have this system where we're nationalizing and socializing industry and we're taking out the profit motive, and just by the select industries you want to do it by, it already proves the state can do it better and outcompete the private sector without meeting with respect to meeting human needs. Why is it that why don't you want to extend that rationale to the whole of the economy? Why not have the rationale of needs making over profit making, profit incentive, you know? I just don't understand, like, why you're stopping short and you don't take this rationale to its logical conclusion. Anyways, that's my soundbite for PACMAN. I'm fucking done. Let's see what we got here. This stuff is extra cringe. Yes, it is. This is the last point of the video where PACMAN mentions Lenin, doesn't mention the USSR. PACMAN is literally begging people not to be revolutionary. Yeah, 100%, bro. 100%. It's true. People like PACMAN are fucking... They are part of the problem. There's really not much else to put it. We have a left that is way too mild and way too weak, and it's that way by design. You know, years and years of the federal government, like, actively suppressing and just sabotaging the left. I ought to write to PACMAN. Can I write to you? No, I can't. I can't write to PACMAN. Well, I can tweet to PACMAN. I'm going to tweet my live stream towards him and hopefully get PACMAN to watch it. But all right, that's enough of David PACMAN. Sorry, S4A, you threw your hat in, and I had to step up, bro. I had to say something. So let's go ahead and take a break from the serious tone of this video live stream, and let's get to something funny. You guys want to watch something funny? I think PACMAN was also for Warren in 2020. I believe it. Yeah, because he's a liberal, dude. There's no other way of putting it. He's a liberal. So anyways, this isn't really... Well, I don't know. I've got two videos coming up. I've got a video on Dr. Phil and Black Red Guard. In fact, let's go ahead and watch that first. Let's take a little humorous break before we get to the last topic. All right? Little humor break. Let's do a little comedy here. You guys are going to love this. But I'm going to read a couple comments. Here, we'll go ahead. Share screen. The problem with PACMAN, SOCDEMs, and their Swedish charts is like castles in the sky. They have, in the U.S., at least no political success to stand on. They can't make a plan for us. Exactly. They've got fucking nothing. They have been failing for the last 8 years continuously in the pursuit of their efforts. They have been failing over and over again, and they've got nothing to show for the last 8 years of their work. All right? They've got nothing to show. They've got nothing to show for it. They have no solutions. And not only that, but their little fucking social democracy in Sweden occurs in an isolated little vacuum where you don't have the empire constantly trying to undermine it. You know, it's the reason why first world countries are allowed to be social democratic, but not third world countries. Third world countries that try to be social democratic get sanctioned, couped, and have their leadership killed. Like, so in the third world, they're not allowed to self-determine. Look at what happened to Gaddafi, you know? Gaddafi was basically a social democrat. In fact, Gaddafi economically was even further left than the Western European bloc. You know, he had his cooperatives, his nationalized industry. He actually had kind of a pseudo-socialistic economy. I'm not going to call it socialist, but he did have nationalized industry, and he did have, like, government programs out the wazoo. What happened to Gaddafi? We told him to give up his nukes or we'll invade. And he gave up his nukes, and we proceeded to invade. And Gaddafi died a horrible death. He was raped to death with a knife by UN assassins. Like, and then now what? Now Gaddafi's Libya is just warlordism, barbarism, and banditry every couple of miles. They've got open slave markets. Like, Libya descended straight back into the third world, you know? And it's because, you know, the third world's not allowed to be social democratic. You're only allowed to be social democratic if you're a white Anglo post-colonial country, evidently. Yeah, Libya is trying to actually take care of its people and build a reserve currency that can threaten the hegemony of the US dollar and give the African countries a fighting chance economically. Norway is fucking dropping the bombs on progressive countries. I love how the social democrats are just completely ignorant about that, you know. They're completely ignorant about the fact that that they're Norway, Sweden, Finland actively fucking back dictators and armed dictators in the third world. They participate in NATO drills, and they are like active allies to the US military. Like, nobody, I love how they straight up leave that shit out. And it's fucking bullshit. These people, like, why don't we try to infiltrate their platforms, you know? Why don't we try to infiltrate their platforms and bring these inconvenient fact sheets? I would love, get me in a room with Kyle Kalinske or David PACMAN or any one of these left liberals, and I will gladly lay the smackdown, you know, just the smackdown with the facts and logic, like, straight up. Let me debate these motherfuckers. I'm willing to bet if I could have a debate with some of these left liberals and sock dems, I could flip a lot of people to our side, because my rhetorical skills have gotten substantially better since my Vosh debate, you know? There's a reason why Vosh won't debate me again, and it's because I would fucking wreck his shit. Seriously. Seriously, though, like, help me, guys. We need to get me to debate these guys. I will gladly be your debate, bro. But anyways, let's watch something funny. We're going to change course here. Change course because we only have about 20, 30 minutes left. Let's do this. You guys see this? Couple claims neighbor tried to blow up their children's swing set. So it's about time we lighten the mood a bit. We tune things down, and you guys see something really funny. And I mean really, really funny. So this is off Dr. Phil.
And I were asleep in bed, and we heard a loud explosive.
You can see on the video Maritha's 3 sons come out of the garage, light an explosive, and all 3 of them run back to the house when the explosion goes off.
We cannot believe that 3 children tried to blow my kid's swing set up. What's next? Is she going to try to kill us? Is she going to blow our house up?
The punchline hasn't arrived yet.
Well, Jonna and Alan say their ongoing feud with their new neighbors has extended to Maritha's 21-year-old son, Christopher, who they claim set off explosives in their backyard. She referred to it as a mortar shell or something like that. Even though they claim they captured the explosion on their home surveillance cameras, Christopher denies having any involvement and says Jonna and Alan are lying and just trying to defame his character.
Jonna and Alan believe that I set off an explosive in their yard. She had
it's Black Red Guard.
These were adults or grown men or little kids. And they are obviously lying. I go to a very, very good university, and I would not jeopardize my presence at that university. It doesn't shock me that she would make these accusations, because that's in her role as the malicious neighborhood gossip. They say that I sit in my kitchen window at all hours of the day and night and record them. I only record them in an effort to protect myself and my family from...
Oh my god, he just admitted that he fucking records them. Oh my god. This shit is too good. This is gold.
Lies. I believe that Jonna is a racist. She also relies upon negative stereotypes of African American people as being violent and criminal by nature. My worst fear is that the situation will spiral further out of control, and we will have another replay of the Mike Brown incident or the Trayvon Martin incident where one of my younger brothers, myself or my mother, will end up laying out there in the middle of that cul-de-sac dead.
Christopher, welcome. We've been looking at some of your tweets.
That's actually Black Red Guard. Like, I can't get over the fact that it's fucking Black Red Guard. He tried to blow up someone's swing set. That's glorious. Fucking wonderful.
When you're tweeting about we don't need gun control, we need cracker control, are you meaning we need to get the white folks under control in this neighborhood?
I very possibly might have been referring to them as some of our other neighbors that have been harassing and tormenting us since we moved into this neighborhood. I very well might have been. She's scared because my mother is a convicted felon. Martha Stewart is a convicted felon. So if Martha Stewart moved into the neighborhood, would you be afraid of her? Would you be doing all of these things to her? I think not.
And she also called you a pervert.
Yes, she did call me a pervert.
So those probably going to be some next false charges brought on you.
Probably, because that's what I believe they're trying to do. They're trying to
Do you believe that he was involved in setting off
Yes.
the explosion in your backyard?
Yes.
Were you?
No, I was not.
Do you know who was?
I do not know. It was July 5th. It was probably some little neighborhood kids running around playing with fireworks. Again, you have this narrative of black male as being violent, black male as being criminal.
Well, don't tell me.
Yeah, whatever. Get over yourself, dude. Like, seriously. Like, there's reasonable suspicion that you probably did it. And the first thing you do is start doubling down and, like, playing victim. Like, oh my God. No, I'm telling you right now, guys, Black Red Guard blew up those guys' swing set. He blew up some swing sets. That's some praxis right there. That's what I call some revolutionary praxis. This is praxis. Critical support for Black Red Guard in his protracted People's War against children's playground equipment.
I have a narrative. I'm asking questions. A narrative is a declarative statement. I'm asking questions. So I have no narrative.
They're declaring that we are violent, we are criminals, we are out to hurt them because, I don't know, they're saying that we're upset about them calling animal control on us and we have guns in the house and things like that. There's not even a slingshot in our house. We don't use guns.
Yeah, I know that's a lie. I'm telling you guys, Black Red Guard's packing heat. I know for a fact he's armed. He's a Maoist, dude. This dude's like, he's all about Gonzalo and shit. Like, I'm telling you right now, this guy's carrying a piece. So that's another lie.
Certainly don't use explosives.
In the pre-interview,
you know, I would respect him a lot more if he just owned up to it. Like, if he just straight up admitted, like, yeah, I blew up those those motherfucking swing set. What you gonna do about it? You know, I would unironically respect Black Red Guard a lot more if he just fessed up to it.
Christopher says the explosive happened at midnight and you were in bed.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Look at that face, man. Look at that face.
That's what you told us.
I'm gonna edit this. This shit's a thumbnail right there. That's a thumbnail for a future video. That's fucking good. It would make it even better if he just had his middle finger and he's just like.
That's what you told us. Maritha says she never talked to the police about the fireworks and her sons were never questioned about it, right?
When the police came to
wasn't arrested for it.
That's what you told us
when
we talked to you
the
about.
police came to our house on that particular night, okay, they came to tell me something about a wanted for questioning that was out for me.
At midnight?
But when we looked at
because that's when
we
you
looked
guys
at the
like to
St.
call the
Charles
police.
County Police Department incident report, it says Maritha exited the residence and asked why I was here, quote, this time. I informed her there were complaints of fireworks in the area. Maritha shared a slight laugh and stated she nor any of her family members set off any fireworks. There were 6 people at the residence, which included 3 younger black males, Maritha's sons. I explained what the video surveillance had showed. They denied having any knowledge of 3 subjects who had passed by their garage to conduct this act. This was of concern to residents, admitted to having been inside the garage with the door open when this incident occurred.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but you told us you were in bed.
Can I not get out of bed and go?
Hold on. It says, wait. They said it was 6, okay? That was my play brother over.
Comedy gold, man. Comedy gold. I'm sorry, guys. I could not resist. I saw this, and then I saw the comment section, and I could not help. BRG did nothing wrong. Destroying the swing set was phase 1 of the Cultural Revolution. It was a symbol of bourgeois institutions. BRG winning the protracted People's War against Dengist revisionist Karen, 09. New protracted people's war dropped. The bourgeois swing set is the primary contradiction in the way of the rural proletariat and their liberation. Long live Black Red Guard protracted people's war. Critical support for the Maoist war on bourgeois swing sets led by glorious BRG. Critical support for protracted people's war against Karens. The four pests: rats, flies, mosquitoes, and swing sets. Gun control? No. Swing set control? Yes. Now this is some praxis right here, comrades. That's some hardcore praxis. Good shit. I don't care one way or another if he did it because those people seem to be the kind of people that would be racist, and it's fucking Missouri. Yeah, no, dude. Like, I totally believe that that bitch is a Karen. Like, straight up. Probably a Karen, probably guilty of just treating him and his family like crap. So he decided to have a little revolutionary retaliation, you know. I just think it's funny. That's the main reason why I put it up, because we were talking about Black Red Guard on my server earlier, and we were talking about, like, black nationalists and Maoists. And I've got something else for you guys here in a second, but I just wanted to take a little break from the seriousness. But yeah, that's what I talk about, man. That's what I call praxis, blowing up some swing sets, you know. The swing set, one could call the swing set a metaphor for the kulak. The swing sets are the kulaks of children's playground toys, you know. Still better than Voshite Predafority. Oh, you mean pedestry? Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and link that that video, and you guys can check it out for yourself. I love how, like, when Caleb Maupin in Black Red Guard. Hold on. Let me see this. Caleb Maupin, because I know for a fact that he tweeted at Black Red Guard. I know for a fact that Maupin fucking here. Is this the tweet? Instead, while Peru has been in political crisis with Marxists and fascists contesting an election, you will notice that the tweets of Jabba the Bosch haven't mentioned it at all. Instead, he's defending Biden's favorite white privilege sensitivity training program, critical race theory, from Republicans. Yeah, exactly. I think we're going to come to a close on the Cuba stuff here in a second. But before we do, I have one last video I want to show you guys. And this is by none other than Black Hitler himself, Gazi Kodzo. Oops. We're going to open up a new page. But before we do, I am going to take a brief intermission. I will be right back. Popsicle. Little snack, little cheat meal. Let's do this. Someone play the Jeopardy music. Anyways, so again, shout out to my Patreons. I'm gonna go ahead and do that right now. Go to my relationship manager. Make sure to not accidentally reveal emails like I made the mistake of. So, at tier 3 subscription, we have Chris Ross. Thank you very much. At tier 2, at $4, we have Braxton. At tier 3, we have Violet XD and Alexander Aldrich Jensen. And at tier 0, we have Shaky Dog and Tankarchus Posadist. I want to give special thanks to Shaky Dog because he's been a long-time contributor to the channel. Your gratuity is greatly appreciated, especially. And comrades, thank you very much. Even though, like I said, even though I don't make much from this project, I do appreciate whatever money that I do get because it definitely boosts morale and it helps, is what I'm trying to say, that I get at least a little compensation for the hours of efforts that I sink into some of my videos. And as time will go on, I plan on making better videos. I actually want to make a documentary eventually, like a fourth world documentary. Evidently, Jason Unruh is in contact with the Navajo nations and the so-called Comrade Number 3, and I would like to take like a road trip where I do I get footage and I interview people from like the poorest parts of America, and I showcase like the sacrifice zones in the fourth world. That's basically the plan. But anyways, I'm afraid I have not seen them. I apologize. Let's do this. So, speaking of Black Red Guard and speaking of Black nationalism, I just recently got sent a video by none other than Gazi Kodzo. So, for those of you who do not know who Gazi Kodzo is, he's a cult leader. He's the leader of this small fringe cult of Black nationalists. Supposedly they're Maoists, but I've had some run-ins with these motherfuckers in the past. Not a pleasant experience, but so I'm all about Black liberation. I'm all about inspiring African American proletariat, as well as land reform, economic reform, jobs programs, to having a committee that's dedicated to addressing and accommodating the needs of African Americans within the new proletarian government, because it will be a necessity. But what this guy is doing is just fucking wrecking. So Black Red Guard, or not Black Red Guard, but Gazi Kodzo, just recently went to this protest, this anti-imperialist pro-Cuban protest, demanding that the U.S. government released the sanctions. And basically, it was a demonstration. It was a protest. The PSL and the DSA, what looked like roughly a dozen people, showed up by the side of this freeway. They were holding up signs, and well, it was just a protest. And then Gazi decides to show up and ruin the whole thing. So let's go ahead and watch this. Yes. They give federal agent vibes to me. Anyways. I think it starts from here.
Well, there's a bunch of different organizations that did it together.
Who's the PSL leadership?
I'm one of them.
Are you the leadership of it?
No. There's no one person. There's a
Who's
collective.
the highest ranking person in leadership?
There's no such person. We don't have that.
Who's the leaders then? Raise your hand.
I'm one of them.
You're one of them. Who's the other ones? Are you just the POC front person?
So Gazi's asking who the leader is. You got the captions. I pulled up the captions because I barely understand what they're saying.
You talking to?
Gazi, what's
because the white people are okay?
Yes, some of us are in the leadership. We're not obligated to tell you exactly who it is, but I'm one of them. What is the leadership?
You are a front face member, and that's why they asked you to speak to us, and the white ones did not want to.
Why would they speak? I'm one of the elected members. I'm actually
Okay,
technically
so-
I'm not elected. I'm upset.
There's a lot of confusion with the position and a lot of confusion. So, leave your organization as a white-led organization. Okay, but you are. Okay. We inform the community that you are. Okay. And we inform the community that you are having our people on hamster wheel situation. Yes, hamster wheel. Okay. Because you do not lead the people to building power. You have our people begging Joe Biden to take down a blockade like a blockade fucking problem.
Okay, so he's saying that He's saying that they're begging Joe Biden to take down the embargo, a blockade, and that what they're doing there is effectively useless because it's a pro-Cuban protest. It's a solidarity protest. And what they're doing isn't helpful. And I just find this very ironic coming from the guy who, well, you know what? I'll just play it. I'll let you guys watch it.
The United States of America is a fucking problem.
Okay,
but
we are.
We're the Black Alliance for Peace, and we're not white-led whatsoever. We're a whole Black Alliance organization, and we're speaking for the same thing.
Yeah, he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. The PSL is very intersectional. They've actually got like an entire division within their organization devoted strictly to Black issues and Black liberation. I mean, you guys can go to Liberation School and you can find all sorts of information about, you know, the history of like Black liberation and so on. They've even had days like dedicated like Black History Month to talking about Black revolutionaries and so on. PSL is extremely intersectional. So, but apparently not enough for Ghazi Kodzo. Apparently they're just as bad as the settlers because they're demanding the U.S. government lift the embargoes. You know.
You're here because PSL hosted funded.
No, that's not true. You came under an assumption. This is a coalition
with other organizations as well.
Okay, so we're Black Alliance for Peace.
I don't give a
it's not a PSL. Signed on. He was one of the.
You are today being led white-led. Absolutely, that's why the crackers ain't here talking about, but it's y'all.
Well, we're struggling against the U.S.
We organized
the event.
We organized the event,
so we're talking.
Hey,
relax.
A white man organized the event, and therefore you are white-led. Therefore you are racist. And you are cracker by association, my brother.
Your organization, who you think you represent?
That's cool.
It's so
You should organize the community, not come and yell at me. This is not going to do anything.
I don't give a come and make no friends.
That's cool too. Okay.
You do what?
Keep it.
I don't have to go nowhere.
Keep it pushing. Ain't nothing about that happening, bro.
I don't go nowhere.
Ain't solid, bro. You keep it pushing. We peace, bro. We peace.
We peace. Don't try.
You don't want it. You do not want it.
And if we're here for your people, why you not with us? We Black.
These crackers over here.
All right, so I just want to start by saying I don't care what anyone says. Calling people crackers is no less racist than, you know, calling Mexican people spics or, you know, calling the Black person and the N-word, you know, like if you're screaming racial obscenities, slurs that are meant to dehumanize someone, like, you know, like what he's saying, it really is just a way to dehumanize. Like Ghazi Koto is one of the most racist, like openly racist people that I've ever seen. And like, you know, he's just tolerated for whatever reason. Like, I don't know. I think he deserves to be called out just as much as any, you know, white person who's being racist does, you know, because this is just wrecking. It's divisive of the movement. It's alienating. And what is this accomplishing? It's not accomplishing anything.
But yo, Black, speak for them. I'm speaking to you. Speaking to PSL. But you want to step up. Tell it y'all move around. This our white red.
I mean, look at him. He's
that's all y'all. I give a on my name.
I mean, just look at him, man. He's just harassing them. He's talking a bunch of shit. Like, this isn't accomplishing anything. Like, you're complaining about how they're not doing anything. What the fuck are you doing? What little token action they are taking by gathering that day, you're actively discouraging them from doing. You know, it's not like these people work for the U.S. government. It's not like they're a part of the government. They're a separate organization that's like actually standing up. And in solidarity with the Cubans. And though it's a small action, it's still a good, effective action. Like, dude, people are going to be driving by and they're going to see the protesters, and, you know, that resonates with people, you know? They're building solidarity. So what they're doing, they're building solidarity. So what they're doing is absolutely a useful action. And Ghazi here doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. But anyway, let's just watch this.
Don't get up in her face. Thank you. You need to leave.
Yeah, he is. Look at that shit, man. He's like screaming in her face. Yeah, this is the reason why demonstrations really ought to have security. Like, if you're going to organize a protest or a demonstration, you really ought to have like some sort of security there to make sure that wreckers don't come along and just ruin the whole thing. Like, I'm just saying, man, like watching Ghazi get up in these people's faces and like scream and yell in their faces just pissing me off. Like, I'm not gonna lie, man. If he got up in my face, first thing I'd do, I'd fucking grab him by the neck and the groin, lift him over my head, and toss him right over the fucking road. Like, seriously. Like, they should be the ones driving him off, not the other way around. Like, what he's doing is basically, I mean, I think S4A described it perfectly. He's just going after them like they're the member of a rival gang. Like, there's nothing positive that's coming from this, like, at all. At all. Fuck, they outnumbering. They should have told him to fuck off. Like, seriously. Wow. Look at that, dude. Yeah, Ghazi Koto's a piece of shit.
Bye, I feel them leaving. Bye.
Yes. Yeah, the children are cheering you on because they're the only ones that don't know what's fucking going on.
Who streets? Who streets? Yeah, we in town now. We in town now. This my city. Born and bred, Brady, baby. I will up for fucking.
He's saying I will fuck motherfuckers
Ku
up.
Klux communists, white leftists, 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 white leftists.
Okay, so let's see. There's those 5. So it's what? 5 people, 6 people. So there's a total of like 8 of them. And the cameraman. And actually, never mind. I was wrong. They don't outnumber him. So yeah, I think that I mean, what Ghazi did here is just absolutely abhorrent. But I don't know.
Running, and you will continue to do that, bitch. I'm coming to your protest tomorrow, early. If you show up, I will.
I mean, I guess you could say they were being the bigger man by just walking away and going somewhere else. And in all honesty, like, I think that's a good thing that side of them prevailed. But I'm not gonna lie, man. Someone like Ghazi just got in my face and like started screaming and spitting on my face. I would just pick him up over my head and just throw him across the road. Like, seriously. But yeah, no, I absolutely think that like protests, I mean, if they're that small, it doesn't really warrant security. But I think if you're organizing a big protest or demonstration, you should definitely have some peacekeepers there, and you should have people organized into different roles, like medics, as well as like supply runners and so on, like scouts. Like, protests, if you've got the numbers, you should definitely have like people playing different roles within the protest, because then you'll be able to have a longer, stronger, like durable protest that won't be broken up, and you'll be able to continue to build solidarity, and you'll be able to keep people together better. But yeah, otherwise, I think in retrospect, I mean, What they definitely were the bigger men in this situation, and women. Bigger men, bigger women, by just walking away and not getting. Because I mean, really, Ghazi Kodzo, like the Black Hammer people are really irrelevant. They're really not worth catching a charge over. Secretary General Anko had a few things to say.
So, here's the thing. PSL is out here saying that we aren't white-led. Black Alliance Peace is saying that we aren't white-led. All of these other organizations that are front colonized groups are white-led. And I'm going to tell you why.
The PSL's a colonizer group. Oh my, that's so stupid. These people don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
Because when you're begging master for colonial spoils or begging your colonial master to give you anything, that's white-led. Your outlook has
I hate this mindset by a lot of Maoists that we shouldn't fight or struggle for reforms in the short term because we're supposedly benefiting from the quote spoils of imperialism and so on, or we're getting back some of the spoils of imperialism. Like I hate this argument because like the vast majority, like most wealth, I mean the raw materials do come from the third world, but the wealth is generated the wealth is generated back at home through a lot of products. And I'm just saying, like, we are so productive as a civilization that even if we did implement all the social democratic reforms, like what Bernie Sanders wants, I mean, we could definitely have, you know, a great infrastructure bill in healthcare and education, and we would still have massive amounts of surplus value left on the table for the ultra wealthy to be super wealthy, you know? I mean, I don't disagree. It should be a global effort, but you should prioritize the struggle in your own home country first. And that before you like worry about what's going on in other countries. I just think what they're doing, like, okay, so like people are very poor and they're suffering in the first world. There's a lot of suffering. There's a lot of poverty and immiseration. There's unemployment. There's no health care. So like people just aren't supposed to struggle for like material gains whatsoever. Like we're not supposed to ever struggle for material gains. We're just never supposed to, you know, do solidarity protests for the Cubans because we're, quote, begging our colonial masters for spoils. Like this is just, I don't know what to say. It's just ultra leftism to me, you know? It's ultra leftism. This is the, oh, let's do nothing. Let's not do anything that's immediately effective in the short term because, you know, it may or may not be morally or what the right thing to do. So it's just dumb. Like this whole thing is just straight up reckoning.
Of the white ruling class. That is what you are enforcing. That is what you're asking. Why are we out here asking the United States government to end the blockade?
I don't know. Why did the Jacobins ask for certain expansions on democratic rights in the assembly, in the Royal Assembly during the French Revolution? You know, why didn't they just go straight to guillotining the king? It's because by struggling for reform and demonstrating the failures for the system to reform, you'll radicalize a great deal more people than not even trying to struggle for what is materially beneficial for the people in the short term. You know, it's a literal win-win situation. If you struggle and succeed, you got us healthcare. If you struggle and fail, but you're doing it in the right way, you know how to do propaganda around it, you can use this to agitate and radicalize people even more. And the more people you get involved to fight for reform, the more the system fails to reform, the more revolution becomes a more commonly thought of option on the table. You know, it's a process that you have to build up to.
Blockade is never going to end by asking colonial masters. Instead, you need to be building a dual contending power in the belly of the beast, and you gotta bleed it out. But these symbolic gestures of holding up signs asking for the blockade to end, it's been 70 years of these so-called organizers begging for the blockade to end. It hasn't happened.
Let's see what else they got.
Hey y'all, how you doing? So I'm gonna talk to y'all in Spanish because this one PSO motherfucker say, ¿Dónde están los hispanos? Yo quiero hablar español contigo. So I'm gonna tell you, un pinche bloqueo económico en Cuba que los Estados Unidos lo quite.
Here, I'm gonna let Ghazi make his speech.
ass
Skip
motherfuckers,
around a bit.
ass bitches, and you got red dogs. Don't tell them we are here.
Here we go, Commander-in-Chief Ghazi Kodzo.
It's me, the commander here about the Kodzo. I'm sorry to get so irate. I know you're not used to me like that. But, you know, as colonized poor working class people, we are tired of the white left stealing and co-opting our movements. We cannot continuously let them use colonized people, bloodshed, starving, and destruction, which they cause and which they eat from, to co-opt our movements and then lead us.
Hold on a second. Hold on a second, guys. So let me look something up real quick. So let me move this. Hold on a second. They benefit from the spoils. They're the ones that did the colonialism, you know. So what about these guys? Are they benefiting from the spoils? Are they benefiting from the spoils? I mean, what about me? Am I benefiting from the spoils? I move boxes around in a warehouse all day, you know. Like, so this idea that the working class Americans benefit from the spoils of imperialism, or mid-income class Americans benefit from it, is largely a falsehood. I mean, in a indirect sense, we benefit because we get a lot of raw materials and resources, and we have a lot of goods imported. But really, like, the benefits of imperialism only go to like the top 5 to 10% of the population. So, like, to blame Americans for like what the ruling class has done, I mean, those people, those protesters are not your class enemy, bro. They were actually have the same sentiments as you. They share a common goal in the liberation of all people, and you just drove a stake through the wedge, and you just split each other apart. And now you're gonna say these small, tiny ass, irrelevant, segregated little gangs that aren't ever going to be able to achieve anything because you're too decentral, you're too undisciplined, and you're not organized enough, and you're actively hostile to. He's just racist. Like, really, like, if people like Ghazi were not a problem for like black nationalism, like if their leadership wasn't like this guy, I'm willing to bet you could attract a lot more people into black nationalism or black liberation if it wasn't for the Ghazi Kodzos of the world, because this dude is one of the most racist motherfuckers I've ever seen. Like, seriously. He's also a piece of shit.
To a mother effing hamster wheel, protesting. It's no more. And we are in Atlanta. Black Hammer was founded in Atlanta. And each one of these white leftists, you gonna have to get your weight up, bitch. Because if it's this easy to push you out, I'm pushing you every.
You know, he's actually got a good point here. If it's this easy to push you out, then I'm going to keep pushing you out. I think he's got kind of a point. Like, if we can't maintain our turf and maintain our positions, and because normally it's the job of cops to disperse and break up protests. If this guy, just random fucking twink dude, like random racist twink fuckboy cult leader, and his like band of soy boys is able to drive you off like that, unarmed, and they're just able to just yell at you and get you to leave the protest. I mean, he's got a point. Like, if they're able to disperse you that easily, then yeah, you're not well organized enough, and you're not strong enough. You don't really threaten. If you can't even threaten to maintain your turf against wreckers like this, how can you threaten to seize power from the ruling class in the United States, you know? So, I mean, he does kind of have a point here, you know? If you all are able to have me come along and wreck y'all's protest, your white colonial sympathizer protest, then you don't deserve to protest here. Oddly enough, I agree with him. I think he actually has a point here. But I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. I probably shouldn't even be talking about this issue. I swear to God. People are so sensitive when it comes to this stuff. I'm probably going to get burned or lose subscribers because of this. Oh, my God.
Every day I see, I will be there, and Black Hammer will be there, and it will be a situation. I'm talking like a WWE wrestler. But you feel me? You know the vibes. You know how it is. This is what we do. And if these hoes can't push on us, how the fuck are we supposed to push back the white power state? They ain't no revolutionaries, we would never abandon our post. They could have never made us move. They told us to move, and we made them move. You know who has the fucking power. You can't hold down a freaking bus stop. Show the bus stop.
Well, you're certainly more annoying. That's for certain. You have the power to annoy people into leaving. So I give credit where credit's due on that one.
Show the bus stop. You can't hold down a bus stop. How can you not hold down a bus stop? How can you hold down a bus stop? It's a bus stop. You're supposed to be the vanguard. Come here.
You know, I take that back. I kind of hope they keep showing up. Like if they're just gonna keep driving them off, I think that's really funny and really pathetic that you're not even able to, that they're not even able to repel shit like this from happening. But then again, like, it's also really fucked up that we have these Maoist groups and these black nationalist groups that are like actively harassing the DSL. DSA, not DSL, DSA. If they're able to harass the DSA and the PSL into leaving, like as what's happened frequently, then like that's an indicator of a much bigger problem. But anyways. Black Hammer is pretty unpopular from everything I've seen. No, they're a cult, like straight up. I hear there's good people in their organization as a whole. Like there's good leadership, or not the leadership. The leadership's the problem. The organization as a whole, because I've talked to people that are black nationalists or people that are loosely affiliated with it, and what they've told me is that Black Hammer is a good org in general. They're good for organizing the lumpen as well as like mutual aid and so on. But their leadership is just awful because it's led by people like Ghazi, who, for lack of a better words, is like a racist, insane, annoying piece of shit, basically. Understand that these people are the result of a war the U.S. has waged against the Black Panther. Yeah. But didn't the Black Panther do the opposite of driving off potential allies? Didn't they try to build a coalition, like a multicolored coalition, like a rainbow coalition? Rainbow coalition? Yeah, that's what they did. They built a rainbow coalition. No, guys, this is praxis, right? This is real praxis. Real praxis is when you drive off people that you could be working with, so that you could make a point, I guess. I don't know, but excuse me. So yeah, no, they had the Rainbow Coalition. The Panthers worked together. They worked with people. Hell, man, the Bolsheviks worked within like right-wing trade unions to try and achieve their goals. Like to the extent that there is value in working within the system, you should work within the system. So their whole premise is just their whole goal and principle is based off a false premise anyways. So exactly. Praxis is winning a buff stop. Exactly. There's a good reason why he bears the title Black Hitler. Yeah, exactly. I'm probably going to start reacting to Ghazi Kodzo videos more often from now on, or at least once in a blue moon, because I've got a bone to pick with Ghazi. But anyways, this stream, there's more people here, but the stream, I'm going to go ahead and kill the stream. If you guys got any questions, comments for me within the next few minutes, let's go ahead and hear it, because I'm going to terminate the stream here in a couple minutes. The more bust-offs you win, the praxier it is. The orangutan in chief. No, I'm sorry. I was thinking of Donald Trump when I said that. That came out very wrong. I was thinking, like, when I hear commander in chief, I thought of Trump, and then I'm like, orangutan in chief. Oh, Lord. Which position? My guess is the PSL left to avoid a scene that would involve people getting arrested. Yeah, fair enough. Getting arrested is definitely not praxis. That is like the opposite of praxis. And it's kind of funny because all these liberal astroturfed NGO organized like sponsors, like you guys know about the National Endowment for Democracy. So there are people, the leadership of the Extinction Rebellion right here. Right here. Let's look up Extinction Rebellion. So this right here, their number one protest tactic is literally to get arrested. You know, getting arrested, which puts you out of commission, leaves a mark on your criminal record, and, you know, breaks up the protests and weakens people's ability to fight back. Getting arrested is not praxis. And the only people that are going to tell you that it's good praxis are like literally federal agents. But yeah, all these protests and demonstrations, like here, red-handed rebellion. This is my favorite praxis right here. You guys ready for this? I'll leave you with this. Red-handed rebellion. Leave your mark. Spray paint your hand to a wall of a government building and then turn yourself in. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about right there. I've shown you guys this before, but this right here is the kind of praxis that you get out of groups like the Extinction Rebellion. And we'll save that for another live stream, however. Anyways, it's been fun, guys. I'm going to go and kill the stream. Y'all have a nice evening. I'm going to go shower and lift.